One of the biggest stories making news this week centers around one of our guests, Councilwoman Mayfield. Back in December, the governor appointed you to the state's Human Relations Commission in December.
Before December.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Say that again?
Before December.
Before
so
December,
last year.
okay. I want to make sure we get that right. However, 29 Senate Republicans protested because of some of your past tweets accusing police officers of being, quote, homegrown terrorists under President Trump. We'll get to
Read the
that.
tweet.
Exactly. We're going to put up the tweet. Don't worry, we're going to put it up. Because of this is going wrong. Because of this, the governor removed you from that commission. There was also a piece in the Observer that was critical as well. In a statement, the governor's office says, quote, we do not want any appointment to divert from the work of the Human Relations Commission in promoting equity for all North Carolinians.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me get your reaction to that first.
Oh, we're not gonna read the tweet that addresses this? Because if we're gonna have a real conversation.
Okay, we have the
let's
tweet
read
ready to
about
go. All right, here's the tweet right here.
Of which, it
yes.
says,
Yes.
of which, we're gonna try to play like I can zoom in and read that.
Yes, it's
Being black in America, under hashtag 45, has created homegrown terrorists wearing blue uniforms. That is exactly what I said.
Oh, that explains.
And that right there, no, if you support the multiple killings of unarmed African Americans, the multiple killings of unarmed black and brown people, evidently you do. So when we think about what I said, again, last May, and the fact that I was appointed last year, and the fact that I have already served at multiple meetings, the fact that that the General Assembly Republican legislature stated that they will either defund and or disassemble this commission because I was appointed to it addressing issues of racial equity, of which I'm not even on the subcommittee dealing with that particular issue. The subcommittee I'm on is the Fair Housing Subcommittee. So you're upset about the fact that we cannot ignore that numerous unarmed individuals, specifically and overwhelmingly of African American descent, whether male or female, have been either assaulted or killed within their interactions with law enforcement. It was never about the good officers. I have been a major supporter and still a supporter for law enforcement, and it wasn't even about CMPD. It was about another mother crying, a grandmother crying about why couldn't they have shot him in the arm? Why couldn't they have shot him in the leg? Why did they have to kill him? But you can arrest another individual who is not a person of color, and or looking at the impact of a commission that is focused on equity and working towards a welcoming state for all, whether you are African American, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, LGBT woman, to say that, okay, I don't agree with your voice, so we will defund this before we allow you to have a voice.
Okay, all right. What about the idea that this was a huge blanket statement about an entire group of people?
What about that idea?
Most people don't like when it comes to any organization or
so
any
let's have a conversation about that. What I said was very specific. What the media then turned around and did was make it a blanket conversation. So to try to deflect from the assault, I just read what I said.
Yes,
and what I'm saying, and what I said was just that. This is creating an environment where people feel that it is okay being black in America under 45. If you read my tweet,
yes,
I specifically said that this environment that is being created is creating this level, because what is the definition of terrorists? And when you have communities where you have individuals where there is no justice, where that individual family gets to have their day in court, or if they have their day in court, that individual is found not guilty, or we remove our officer and just send him to another police department so that he's then able to continue.
You're saying a lot of things that are not in that tweet.
I'm saying a lot of things that's not in that tweet. The people in the community who have felt this impact know exactly what that tweet says. What was said a lot of was then the comments when the editorial was written. The comments that were written in the paper.
Do you blame the editorial for all this?
Do I blame the editorial? No, I blame complacency of people for all of this. Because we won't talk about, even now, you're deflecting from the fact that African Americans overwhelmingly are being killed on the street, whether they are armed or whether they are unarmed, or whether they are a child playing in a park.
I would say
there's no
either. There doesn't have to be an either or. We can have that conversation for sure.
But we don't. When have we had that conversation? Thanks to all of this energy that came out, I then hosted community
Our
forums where we
next
talked
segment,
about.
our actually next segment is completely devoted to criminal justice reform. So that's something we can have
Criminal
those
justice
conversations.
reform and the impact of a law enforcement officer and that interaction that results in assault or death, that is not the same conversation that we're having. When we talk about criminal justice
You don't
reform,
regret the tweet?
it's on the bad side of the criminal. Why would I regret stating a fact that's happening in my community? Why do you think it's wrong for
I
me
think a
to
lot of
address
I think
it?
a lot of people who agreed with you felt like you really sort of mischaracterized a
You
situation.
think so?
I
Whereas
think-
I hear from people that say, thank you for telling the truth that nobody else will talk about. Because again, the other side of this is we're having a conversation about
I
the
feel like
impact
a
of
lot of
race
people feel
in
like
our
it
community that we don't talk.
distracts from the issue you're actually talking about.
So here's
Because
the
it was-
thing,
yes,
These
when
are
I
apples and ham
recognize,
sandwiches.
it's
I mean,
not
they are
apples
not
and
even
ham
close
sandwiches.
to being the same
You
thing.
either stand for justice or you're complacent.
Why do you have to
That
go
is
hurt
it.
an entire block of other people?
Really? What
Vast
entire
majority
block?
of them doing their job
What
and
entire
doing it
block?
well.
Tell me where I said,
Please
no,
don't
you
refer
did a
to
video
homegrown terrorists.
to say, I'm doing a ride along
And I
to
called
show
you
how
before
great
that.
police are,
I
how great police are.
I felt an
Let's
urge to
address, it's
stand
not
up at
about
that
the-
point in time,
It's
and
not
I
about
called
the
you
good
about
ones.
it.
It
Because
is
I
about
felt,
the ones who are doing bad. It is about the ones that we just
That's
had
not-
listen,
a
I've listened, I've listened,
that
I've
was
listened, I've
arrested the
listened
other
to your
day.
points, and I, you know I respect you. But
That
let
is
me-
what I'm saying.
let me-
What I'm
let me
saying
tell you
is, if
my-
I'm talking about the bad,
If
but
we
then
can't
you
have a
try to
discussion about it,
redirect,
I mean,
if you want to redirect to only say, well, what about the good people?
let's have a
That's
discussion. You can't
deflecting.
just talk over folks. You know I love you.
You think so?
You know how I feel about this. When it was said, I don't really care about this commission vote and what the governor did and things like that. What I care about is that a bunch of people that are officers and their families hurt at a time where morale was low. A bunch of families of 9/11 victims hurt when they saw
Oh,
that.
so now
and
you're
I
gonna
felt,
add
let me
additional
just finish, let me just
information
finish.
opposed to
All
this
I'm saying is
conversation.
those tweets hurt people. And that
Oh,
doesn't
so
mean I
what
like
about
you
the
more or less. That
individual
means
family
that someone
members
has to
who
step
lost
up
a family member
and
then turn around and
comfort
have to
those
sue the
folks.
city
And the
to
thing
try to get
the thing I
the
hate
cover
most
to
about what's
bury
going
their
on
family
now
member.
is that was buried and forgotten. And some may not want you to forget it. I wanted it forgotten,
Here's the
and now
thing.
it's back in the news.
It's not a point
hurting
of
those
forgetting
same
it.
people.
You're still deflecting. At what point did you open your
You are
mouth
correcting
and
what you're
support?
arguing. You are
Where
correcting
did
the
you
point you're
open your
arguing
mouth
for.
as an elected official and say, you know what? I acknowledge that members in this community have had interactions with the police. I
Multiple
acknowledge
times
that.
have I acknowledged
No,
that.
what you did is
Multiple
you tried to
times.
say, hey, look at all the good things that's happening over here.
They needed
not
that right then
addressing the
because
bad
they were
that's
they,
going
they
on.
thought we all
We
thought they were
highlight
homegrown
the
terrorists.
communities every year. Before you even ran for office, you weren't a part of the community relations committee where we
Sure I
actually
was.
built up
Multiple
the
years I
police
served on the community relations committee. In fact,
Many years prior to you even thinking about it, I was already on the community relations
I served
committee.
there
So
for
as
3
we are,
years. I've spent my time there, and I feel
I
like
like the fact that you served 3 years. But when we were out there celebrating and highlighting officers, which we do every year, it is not about the good. But we must address the bad. We must address
I
that
don't
we
disagree
have
that
officers
we
out
must
there
address the
that
bad,
need to,
but
that
we don't
should
have
not
to
be a
throw
law
the
enforcement
good under
officer.
the bus.
So again, it's not, why do you assume that if we address a wrong, then that's automatically taken away?
Because you
From all
called
the
them
good.
homegrown terrorists.
I said we are creating, and that is what is being created. So let's have a conversation, Ben, and look at the history of these Americans. Let's go back to prior to the Civil Rights Movement. We just got through celebrating the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's life. But what are we still doing? We're having the same conversations today that we were having then. We love to talk about I have a dream speech, but we don't talk about all the atrocities that were addressed in that speech. We don't talk about 2 years after the fact, he acknowledged that his dream became a nightmare. If we are not going to have real conversation in this community about police brutality, we're going to
You
continue
do so
to
much
run in
good for
the
this
same.
community, and
that-
it gets
I
overshadowed
still
when you
do
do things
good
like
in
this
this
and it
community
hurts
because the
people. I know you
difference is
do.
I
I
have
know
a
you
track
do. I
record
see it
on
every day.
it. And my community
But this is
recognizes
this is
because my
unexplainable.
community
This
is
is
also
unexplainable.
that mother and that grandmother
We've gotta
who
go to
lost their
break.
child.
We've got
You're
to
not
go to break.
wrong.
I got a good break. All right, more FlashPoint after this. We didn't get to
I
4-year
don't know
term.
how to stop you.
I told